Welcome back to the Tommy Retro YouTube channel. We've got another video today. This is going to be a project video. Yesterday I was replacing some of these angle stops. So you can see we're renovating the bathroom here. So this is a friend's house, but renovating the bathroom here, and so replacing some of these angle stops because the other ones were pretty gnarly, and putting new escutcheons on. Then I got to the toilet, and as you can see, the nipple is missing from the wall. And here's the problem with that. You can take a look here. Here is the angle stop, nipple, and 90-degree fitting from inside the wall. So basically what happened is when I put a wrench on here, instead of turning the nipple out of this 90-degree fitting, which goes from a 3/8 MPT pipe fitting to a sweat-on copper, instead of twisting that out of there, it bent the copper pipe inside the wall and snapped it off. So our project today is going to be opening up this wall and making the repair and putting in the new nipple. So we're going to replace the toilet anyway. So what we're going to do first is remove the toilet, get it out of the way, then we're going to open up the wall so we can see what we're doing, and then make the repair. Okay, so number one, to remove the toilet, we got to make sure that the toilet's completely all the water is drained out of it. So we're just going to go ahead and open the flapper there, and you can see I drained most of the water out the other day when I disconnected the service line to put the new nipple on. So you can see down in there that there's quite a bit of water still left in the bottom, and to remove this I'm going to have to take the tank off of the back, from the base of the toilet. And then same thing with the the water that's in the toilet there. We have to get that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a small cup and get as much water out of there as possible, and then I'll just use a towel and sop up the rest of the water. Bottom line is, when we disconnect the tank from the toilet, we don't want to have water in there because it'll just run all over the floor and everything will get wet. So I'm going to get my cup out, get as much water out of there as I can, use the towel, dry it, and then we'll be ready for the removal. Alright, so I just finished bailing out all the water with a cup. Then I used a towel to dry everything. So now we don't have to worry about water spilling all over the place. Water obviously is off already because of the missing nipple and plumbing in the wall there. But now we're going to take the tank off the back, which are these little wing nuts here. You see that? So there's a wing nut on either side. I'm going to take that off. That'll take the top of the bowl, or the tank. They'll take the tank off of the bowl. And then under these caps here, I have to pop them, I guess, with a screwdriver. Oh no, here they come. There we go. So under those caps are the two bolts that hold it to the flange, to the floor. So we'll take those out, and the whole toilet should pop loose. Just a word of caution: be extremely careful when you're pulling the toilet. Real good potential, or high potential I should say, for back injury, just because of the weight and how awkward it is. As you can see, staged in the hallway there, I have my two-wheel cart, which is what I'm going to use to take this out to the garage. So I'm going to take the wing nuts off, get this tank removed, and then work on the base portion. Alright, this is where you've got to use extreme caution, because again, you've got a lot of weight right here. Okay. Now, we have a problem that we're going to have to address, and that is, you can see here, I picked the toilet up, a piece of this came with, the wax ring is stuck to the bottom of this, but here is, actually looks like it's coming off right now, there's the wax ring. I don't know if you can see that, but part of the toilet flange is broken on the floor here, and it looks like it's been leaking, so it's got looks like it did a pretty good job on the floor. It looks like a little bit of rot. So when I go to the hardware store, because I need to get the final fittings for what we need inside the wall, I'll have to get the I'll have to get a flange repair kit as well. So we'll get this toilet out of here and start opening up the wall, see what we got, make a material list, and then it's off to the hardware store. Okay, so now you can get a really good look at what's going on here. So you can see on this left side, the flange, outer portion of the flange actually broke off. So now this can't hold the toilet the way it should. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to replace that. You can see that this flange is glued onto this 4-inch PVC pipe, or what it actually looks like 3-inch. But what I'll have to do is, because that's directly glued on like that, I will have to get in there and I'll cut that. I'm going to see, I think I can get a Dremel tool possibly down in here, cut it below the glued on flange, and then use a repair coupling, a repair PVC coupling, and then build it back up and install a new flange here. But you can see the toilet was obviously leaking, and you can see the discoloration on the floor. It doesn't seem like it's rotted out to where we need to replace it. I am going to replace this underlayment, this 1/8 inch material that you see here. That's pretty well rotted, but the actual like 1/2 inch plywood still seems pretty good. So we know what we need here. We'll measure up some stuff, just verify. But now what we were originally going to do, which is the wall repair, I'm going to open this wall up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out in such a way where we're going to reuse the drywall that we cut out as the patch. So you could see, and I'll take a look and verify this, but you've got you got your nail here, you got your nail here. So, and actually you come up here, this was behind the toilet so it's missing, but it's not mudded very well. And I'll paint this too, by the way, while I have it open. But you got the nail head here, nail head there, so that tells you that there's a stud right there. And then also, same thing here, it tells you there's a stud right there. So what we'll do is we will mark a line where the studs are on center, and then I will use a tool that I showed you in a previous video to cut that open, and then we'll just use that to patch it back when we're done. I'm going to go ahead and measure this up, mark it up, and then we'll be ready to cut it out. Okay, well, I've got my square marked out, so I should be center of the studs. We'll take out this section, this is where we'll do our work, and then we'll save this to patch it back when we're done, and mud it and sand it. So let's get going. And again, this tool, which it's just called an oscillating tool. Not really sure what the what a trade name for this would be, but this is cheap, tool shop from Menards, but it's going to do a great job for something like this. You could also just use a utility knife and score this and take it out that way, but since I have this is so much easier to use, so we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I'm going to get my utility knife out. I'll finish cutting out the corners. Okay, got that open. Now you can see my my cut on the left side was a little bit wide. It won't be a big deal. It'll patch in just fine. When I put this back in, I will I'll just mud this really good, and it won't be any issues. But you can see what's going on in here now, and why I cut it the way I wanted to between the studs. This one ended up perfect, so that way it'll just fit right in there. I can screw it in to the corners, mud it. I meant to put this one right on the same center of that stud, but the the nail was deceiving on the bottom because it's nailed into this plate, and then when I referenced this nail pop up here, it looked like it was okay. But hindsight 2020, it'd be a good idea to use a stud finder. I don't have one, so we just kind of went with it. But again, this will be totally fine. There won't be any issues here. But you can see what's going on now inside the wall. We got plenty of room to work. We've got, let's see here, see if you can see that. It's pretty dark, but you can see here you've got the half-inch copper that runs through, okay, and then you've got a T, and then you've got a fitting that is sweated onto it. And what it was like this. So it was a T, a short, a real close piece of copper, a 90-degree turn up in copper, and then into this fitting that changes it from a sweat copper connection to MPT. So it broke right there. So what we're going to do is I'll have to get some fittings to make this. What I'll actually end up doing is I'll end up heating this up and taking this existing fitting off of here. So if you see that, because I don't have a whole lot to work with here, so I'll have to heat this up around here, and then I'll get on this with a pair of pliers and just work this and pull it off, and then just build this piece again to come out. And then what we'll do differently than what previous people did was we will somehow anchor this to the side here or something. We'll fur this. We'll do something different so that it doesn't do that again. even if we use just like some shims and a strap, copper strap, it's going to be better than it just free floating in the wall. And you know, this way the next guy, you know, 20 years down the road doesn't have that same issue. See, it wasn't supported. If it was straight on, it would have been fine. And I could do that, I could make it straight on, but I do want to line up with the hole that's in the drywall. Not that that's a big deal, but I just think it just saved me some time. So we'll just go ahead and make it the same way it was, except we'll just reinforce it, and that'll be a good repair. So okay, so I was able to cut off the pipe from down in the basement. So I was able to see it, I was able to get the sawzall on there, so I won't need the Dremel tool. So I cut it as close to the flange as possible, and we should have enough to get on it with a repair coupling and then make this work. So now I just have to remove the flange here. That one strip. Now, this one here is going to need a little bit of help because it's stripped out in it. So we'll just pull on it at the same time. There we go. So as you can see, downstairs I was able to use a sawzall, cut this out, and now I can take that and match it up at the hardware store with a repair coupling. Let's see here. You can see what we've got now. So what I'll do is I'll clean up this opening, I'll clean up the burrs off of the pipe, get it ready to glue on a new piece. Might have to open up that hole a little bit because of that repair coupling that's going on there, so maybe I'll take the sawzall and just open it up just a tad. We'll see how it dry fits, you know, when we get the parts back. But now we're ready, so I'm going to get parts and then we'll come put it all back together.